Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we'll be exploring unit testing with Java. For that, we will be exploring, first of all, explaining what is Java unit testing, and the second we'll be implementing them and see them into action. So let's get started. First of all, what is unit testing? Unit testings are used to test the logic of some program. Let's say, for example, you have a machine that, for example, makes you orange juice. You give them an orange, they will give you a cup of juice. For that, the machine, when you give them an orange, it will cut the orange, squeeze it, filter the waste, and finally deliver a glass of juice. Unit testings make sure that all these steps are respected and no steps is skipped. The same for application. When you have, for example, a submitted order, and for example you receive the order, then you check the availability of the product, and then you return a confirmation of the order. This is the same. Unit testing will check each step of this logic. For that, we will take a look into the action to see all of that. So let's get started. Okay, so here we have a simple Java application. First of all, let's define a new function. For the sake of the example, let's make it static. So static int double the number, which is a simple function that only if you give it an int number, it will return number multiply by 2. This is a simple function that only gives a number and return a double. For that, we will create a unit test. What we can do also is try to run it. Let's print the return value, double the number. Let's give it, for example, a 5. And try to run the main function. And here we see that we have 10. Okay, so the function is functioning, is doing its work. So for that, we will try to create a unit test. So what we can do is only to come here and generate a test, unit test for main test. Let's call it, the class name is main test. And let's generate a test for double the number. Okay, so for that we're going to need to add Java JUnit 5. Okay, so the class is imported here, and for that we are going to test the function. For that we'll be defining int as number, let's call it number, and then call our function double the number. Let's give it, for example, a 5. Okay, for that we're going to use assertion, which basically assert equals. This is a function executed by JUnit to, for example, assert equal. I will give it a number, which is 10, and verify it with number. Here in our function, we are giving a 5, which means if our function is doubling the 5, it will be number 10. So we are just asserting that 10, which is the expected value, is equal to number, and try to execute this class. As you see here, you have this one test is executed, one test is passed. So imagine if our class that we have here, for some reason it doesn't double and it changed its core value. Now it triple the function, the value. If we go to our test and we try to execute it, this test will fail. It will tell you here that the expected value is 10, but the actual one is 15, which means that the logic of our function has changed. Okay, let's go back to our test. Now to test our logic is we give it a number, a fixed number of 5, we're expecting 10. Now imagine if I wanted to test, for example, a series of numbers, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and expect them to change with time. Okay, let's say, for example, here we will define an annotation, a very useful annotation called parameterized test. And then we can redefine the test, which is double the number params, because we are going to pass params to our function. For that unit testing here, what we should be doing is adding a new annotation called value source, which will be defining here what kind of parameters we will be defining. To transfer these parameters to our function, we only define it as an int, for example, parameters. Then what we'll do is to, for example, define it as var number equal to main double the number, and we pass it the e here. So we will be using the same assertion, assert true, that the num is equal at e, the value here. We assert that this number is equal to this both. Okay, I'm sorry, I've mistaken. What we will be using is assert equals. So what we'll be trying here, our test, instead of writing this logic for all this number, what was going to happen here is each number would be passed as a parameter here and re-execute all this function. So if we try to run it, we say here for each value the test has passed. Okay, to verify the unit here, we double it with the e22. Imagine if we wanted to have like a key value. Let's say for example we have this another double the number key value, let's call it key value, for example. Okay, for that we'll be using the same annotation, which is parameterized test, and what we'll be using is another annotation. We'll not be using value source but CSV sources. We open parentheses and then we'll be using values here, and for that we open the same. But here what we'll be doing is to pass key values. Let's say for example we pass 1, we're expecting a 2. We pass for example 4 and we get an 8. And for example we pass a 9, we'll be expecting an 18. Okay, the same here will be int in value, and then will be int expected value. One thing here that needs to be defined is the delimiter that I forgot to here to say. My key values that we have here are separated by a key value, and how you can find it is by looking delimiters into sorry, I forget parentheses here with one. Okay, nice. Okay, so for the int value he will get the first one and the expected value will be the second one. So we'll be doing the same, var number, will be calling the main, we'll be calling the function double the number and pass it the int value, okay, we'll get a value and then we'll be verifying it by number, which number asserts not true but equals here, that the number our function gives is equal to the expected value, and we try to execute it. And we see here the three values 1, 2, 4, 8 were executed. So this is very useful. Okay, so for the assertion we can assert many ways. Let's say for example assert true, which is like, for example, you can here, if your function return for example a boolean, but you can do it like something like this: assert equals expected value. This is another way to do it also. So assertion, you can do a lot of things. Equals, you can do, for example, if we take a look into the functions, here there are many values that we can use. Array is equals, we can like do false, you can do not equals, you can do that through exactly kind of exception, timeouts, a lot of things could be done. So, but the most important one is this one. Maybe in another video we'll be diving more into Mockito and more advanced features of Junit. Okay, thank you. So that will be all for today. Thank you for watching and see you on the next episode.